So I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina. That's where I grew up. My mom and my brother and I. Single mother household, so grandparents took care of my brother and I a lot, and I mean, we were just outside all the time. We're really close when we were young, and kind of gone different directions in our older age, but we're still close. And I love Charleston. I remember back in the day, we could play in the road on a holiday and there'd be no cars going, and then nowadays, Charleston's a whole different animal, so it's good change, but it's just, if you grew up there, it's totally different. And I think a lot of guys in my time joined the military during that time and period because of 9/11. I remember sitting in class in high school, sophomore year, and homeroom, and all of a sudden TVs came on, pretty much the whole day stopped, towers had been hit. When we turned on, the second one had already been hit, and originally at that point it was college. I was still thinking we're going to college, and then 2003, right when I was graduating, I'd already had planned on, hey, college, then military, and the invasion of Iraq was going on, so withdrew, just gave up on the college side and went straight enlisted, because I think most of us thought it'd be like the Gulf War and it'd be over in 100 hours or whatever it was, and I just wanted to do my part, so I joined up right out of high school. Actually, I was 17. My mom had a sign for me to go. So I started off just enlisting as an infantryman. Mom hated it. Like I said, I signed up at 17, so my mom actually had a sign for me to go. And I remember she made me sit down with her and the recruiter and go through every single job I qualified for before she would sign, since I wanted to go into infantry. Why I went infantry, I don't know. Like I said, I just felt that there was a war going on and I needed to serve my country, and just something told me to do that. So I went in as a 0311, which is a rifleman, after School of Infantry. I got sent on to Security Forces School, voluntold by the Marine Corps to do that. Became a Security Forces Marine, and then at that point I did one deployment, and then I tried out for recon. Became a Reconnaissance Marine and served the rest of my time as a recon Marine, having to go through the screening process. I actually did it 5 days after coming back from my first deployment. Went on to BRC, or Basic Reconnaissance Course, which is about 3 months long, and probably the closest thing most people would know would be BUDS. Talking about SEAL training, it is different, but it's the closest thing to that for the Marine Corps, and that's what I did. I was supposed, if you screen or do the NDOC, or the screening for reconnaissance on the East Coast, that's for Second Recon. Second Recon kind of wants to own you. I had a chance to go see the monitor, even though I already had orders to Second Recon. And I just said, I grew up on the East Coast, I want to see the West Coast, any way we can get out there. And he was like, I don't care where you go, man, here. Signed it off, and the next week I was driving to California. So I ended up with 1st Recon Battalion out at Camp Pendleton, California. Yeah, so we were with battalion, and actually I was in during the time, that weird period where MARSOC was standing up. They were trying to have Marine Corps Special Operations take over and be part of SOCOM directly. Force actually got stood down. We became what was called Delta Company, when there was originally just Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie, and we got Delta, which kind of took the Force's role. So we were battalion level, but we did more of the Force Recon role, but we never, which is typically on a MEU, but we didn't even go on the MEU. We got deployed directly to Iraq to support all of Marine Corps operations. So we bounced around all over in Iraq, anywhere from Fallujah all the way out west to the Syrian border. So best friend from the Marine Corps. I have a lot of close friends, especially from the recon units. I really only keep touch with one guy from my first unit, maybe two, but recon I keep in touch with my whole team. Two of the guys are no longer with us. One of my best friend was Jonathan Simpson. He was my closest friend in the Marines. In my recon unit, in my actual team, he was killed by a sniper in Iraq in 2006. My most memorable time, and that's a hard one, man. There were so many good times. One that always comes to mind, I think, and every Marine's probably going to say the same, is the day we earned our Equal Globe and Anchor. The day we graduated at Paris Island and earned that title. That will always be something that's just seared in my memory. As far as other times, I mean, if you've ever been in the military and deployed, especially if you're in an infantry unit, there's always a time that comes along that there's a lull in operations, and then there's downtime, and that's not really a good thing for infantry units. And I remember one time we got the bright idea that we should shoot with a rubber band Jolly Ranchers point blank into each other's stomachs. So well, I didn't actually step up to the plate to do this, but I watched a couple of the other guys do it. I kind of thought it was a little idiotic. And I remember just these perfect welts, bruises of the Jolly Rancher shape just right in their stomachs. So that's a funny time. Probably one of the other most memorable times is actually New Year's Eve 2006 going into 2007, biggest fireworks show ever. We were on a mission, and we had to breach a house, and it was a fortified house, and we used the gate. We put a decent amount of C4 on it, so we always joke and say we brought in the new year with a really big bang, and that was definitely the biggest fireworks show I ever saw. I mean, there was times we would drag each other around on the, I don't know if you remember, because I think they quit using them, but when they would transfer Humvees, they had covers for the turrets, and they were like a saucer, so we would drag each other around with tow lines behind on our knees like it was, the saucers were going down the hill in the snow, but we'd be on rocks and sand getting drugged behind there's all kinds of crazy stuff, man. You got to pass the time somehow and have a little relief. Yeah. So I actually really was trying to stay in. I wanted to do the MESAP program, and for those that don't know what the MESAP program is, it's going from enlisted to officer. They send you to college, and you are still in the military. You graduate college, you get your commission. Basically, the Marine Corps told me that they wouldn't tell me what my application status was if I got accepted to the program or not unless I re-enlisted. So I just said, you know what? I got the GI Bill. I'm going back to college on my own. I'll come back in after I'm done with college. I'll just go to OCS and become an officer that route and go back in. So that was the plan getting out. Started college. I got recruited by a contracting company to go be a security forces or to do diplomatic security overseas after my freshman year. My buddy Steve was doing it. He helped with that recruiting process. They were looking for some guys, and he said, you got to talk to this guy. He's thinking about going back in. I was actually going to just give up on college and re-enlist. I think a lot of veterans that get out, especially enlisted, and go to college feel that way at the beginning. It's a whole new world. That transition's pretty difficult for most of us, if not all of us. And so I was like, I'm going back in. Screw it. I'm done going back in the military. He was like, you can go to school online. It's a lot better pay than the military. And it's in service of the country still. So I checked that out, went that route for a few years. Eventually finished my degree, and had an injury along the way while I was doing that, and kind of prohibited me from getting back into the military. So make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, especially if you're looking at the Marine Corps. Nothing against a single person out there who serves their country for money for college. But if you're going to the Marines, I would definitely look at a different branch if you're doing it other than you just want to serve your country. I can't speak of other services. I wasn't in them, but the Marine Corps is definitely a different world. It's a great world. I wouldn't change a thing about it, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. But just make sure that if you're going to do it, you're doing it for more than just a paycheck or money. Getting out, you don't have any real skill sets as an infantryman. Sure, I went reconnaissance and got higher training, but none of that really translates over. Even trying to go into police work, sometimes it can actually prohibit or give you some setbacks because they think you have a mindset for a certain thing, and it is totally different than police work. I don't actually know that, but from what I've been told, I never became a cop. So, but there was you getting out, people look at you. I remember one of the things I was thinking about doing. At one point when I was going back in was if I didn't go back to the Marines, why not go Coast Guard? I hear it's a good job. And they were like, we don't care that you're in the military, you're starting over. Because nothing you did translates to the Coast Guard. So, that's the only thing I would say. Maybe I would try to convince myself not to do infantry. But again, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't trade with those relationships I've had, the experiences I've had, good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. They framed the person I am today. If it wasn't for my experience, I don't know who I'd be or where I'd be. And I think that's why also guys join up usually younger, right? We haven't got the wisdom we got later on. So I went to Clemson University to finish my degree. I didn't finish it when I was overseas. Hey, you can work and finish your degree, doesn't really work. Your tempo's too high, So you're really not able to take the class load that you normally take. So I got out, I had to finish my degree. So I went to Clemson. I had about 3 years left that I finished in 2.5 years. You know, the plan changed. You know, that's Murphy's Law, right? Every plan changes. So, you know, I just kind of would tell people that too, like, don't get out thinking one thing, and if it doesn't work out, that's a failure. It's not a failure, it's just a lesson, and maybe it wasn't what you thought or what you're actually supposed to be doing. So just roll with it. I got out, like I said, I went to Clemson. I thought I was gonna get a degree in political science, go back in as a federal agent. Like I said, that injury prevented me from it. I still got my degree in politics because I was hard-headed. I thought I'd get over the injury and get back to that level that I would be allowed to come back to work, and I just never did. So I met a great group of guys at Clemson, all veterans. I joined. If you're going back to college, the one thing I would tell you, join the Student Veterans Association. Student Veterans Association of America is a wonderful, if not all campuses have it now, I know the big colleges do. Clemson's is a wonderful program. We helped actually take it from basically what was a drinking club, being straight honest, to something that actually helped support the veteran community as they came into Clemson. Success at graduating, earning their degree is so much higher because so many do give up in that first semester and first year. And again, I haven't looked at those studies in a while, but that's what it was when I was in school. So we developed a program, and we didn't just go to Clemson. I was actually part of the officer program, or the leadership of the club. And we didn't just go to Clemson's president and the leadership and say, hey, well, you need to make it better. We actually came in, we looked at what Florida State University was doing at the time. They had a great program. We picked their brains. We reached out to them, and we came to them and said, hey, this is what we want. We want your yellow ribbon school. We really want the school to elevate what they're doing for veterans, and this is the plan we have for you. I think that was more receptive because being a bunch of veterans, I think we knew there's a problem, let's figure it out, not just expect that someone else handles it for us. And I think that's why Clemson really got on board with it, because they had a group of guys that really wanted to push. I didn't even have the main role. Will Sturgis, and I'm just drawing a blank on the other gentleman's name, and it's horrible, but the president, vice president, those guys were wonderful. I was just a smaller support role, and those two just elevated the whole program to what it is now. They gave us a room that we called the broom closet. It's the only room we can find. They told us, you find one, you can have it, some off campus. And now, if you don't know, unless it's changed, last I heard, they actually had the club at Tillman Hall, which is one of the iconic buildings, and it was a huge room. They have the areas to study. They can get away from the normal noise of the campus, get into study groups, areas to vent, and it's available for any veteran. Full staff now, I believe, or at least somebody that's a full-time employee. You probably know better than I do.
Yeah,
yep, and you know, that wasn't there when we started. We didn't have anybody. It was just us. We would be the guys sitting in there. We each took a time. Hey, I'll be able to come between classes at this time. I'll be there this time. We did that, and eventually they saw that growing and getting more numbers, and it was a bigger process, and I think more veterans were attracted to Clemson because of it, and then they finally put that staff member on. So I thought I was going to go to law school. I got a political science degree. At this point, like I said, my back was still a problem, so the back injury was preventing me from going back into working for the government. My mind was still, I'm going to be a federal agent. It wasn't going to happen. I had to accept that reality. So what do you do? Well, what do you do with a political science degree if you're not going to go work for a government somewhere? You either teach or you go to law school. So I took the LSAT. Didn't really want to. Just kind of was like, what do you do? Realized if I go to law school, that's not going to be where I'm happy. I've always had an interest in healthcare. So I gave up on law school, even though I had to go back to 2 more years at Clemson to get prereqs. So I could go to time I was thinking med school. Along my journey towards med school, I started using chiropractic care. The day I took the MCAT was the day my chiropractor asked me if I ever thought about chiropractic. I honestly had no clue that it was an independent school other than med school. I honestly thought they just went to med school, then became a chiropractor. And he informed me that it's kind of like dental school or podiatry school. You go straight there. It's its own course, it's its own program. You graduate, you can actually start practicing. So I went and checked it out, and because chiropractic gave me my life back, got the pain out of my back, got me living again, I decided to become a chiropractor myself so I can give back and do the same thing that was given to me. Sherman College, right here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. There's not even that many in the country. So last I checked, there was 18 chiropractic schools in the nation. there was one I heard maybe opening, so maybe there's 19 now. And it just happened to be that there was one right here in the Upstate where I was living. I still checked out a couple different schools, but I really fell in love with Sherman. It was one of the smaller schools, so it was more intimate, smaller classes. And I also didn't have to move, uproot my family, so that was a big plus. And went there, loved it. Great school. If you're thinking about becoming a chiropractor, check them out for sure. Little plug for Sherman College. Yeah, so I think a lot of veterans and people in general, the hardest thing to get people to understand is there's usually an incident that is like the straw that broke the camel's back. And we think that one incident is what caused the issue. For me, I was at the time working for State Department. We were training and I literally stepped in a hole and I just felt something go in my back. But if you couple back, you rewind my tape and you look back from even when I played sports in high school, and then I was also doing extreme sports at the time, was BMX riding, all those falls I took. Then you join the Marine Corps. Then you go to Reconnaissance, and the amount of stress we put on that body on a regular basis, just wear and tear, all of that, even though I felt fine, was wearing my body. That's something I didn't realize at the time. And, I'm sure everybody's heard the statement, pain is weakness leaving the body, from the Marine Corps. And no, it's not. That's something else I'd tell somebody thinking about joining the Marine Corps. It's gonna be a lot of pain. But I digress on that, but back to, so you're working through it, and all of a sudden, like I said, I'm training. We've got our gear on. We're just doing some movements from, like, if a vehicle was hit, getting the principal out into a hard cover somewhere. We're going through this field, the way it was cut, you couldn't tell there was a hole, and I just hit it. Kept going, my back felt weird, but I kept going. And as soon as we were done training and I stopped moving, it locked up. Pain started shooting down both legs. Of all the pain I experienced up until that point, I never had experienced something like that. They thought I actually fractured my back, because even though we were over in Baghdad at the time, X-ray imagery wasn't that great. They took an image. They said, you fractured your spine. We've got to get you back home. They sent me on a plane back home. They got us home, took better X-rays. It's not fracture. We're getting you MRI. MRI, you pinched the nerve in your back. Doctor said it would actually have been better to fracture your back the way yours was. They thought you had fractured it because you would have healed faster and got back into it. We fast forward about 3 years of trying injections in my spine, physical therapy, anti-inflammatory medications, just anything that we could to try to get the pain off, and it just never, it would get marginally better, but it would always come back. Anytime I tried to do anything physical, it would kill me. I mean, I'm talking about pain in the legs for every day of my life. I went from being physically active, healthy, in shape, to not. I couldn't barely move. I stood up for 5 minutes, I would have shooting pain. And I figured that was gonna be my life for the rest of my life. I just thought that was it. At that point, they told me it was either surgery, and I was only 26 at the time. I said, I'm not doing surgery. You can't even tell me an outcome of what it's gonna be when I turn 50, because they don't usually do that kind of surgery on young people. My orthopedic surgeon said, hey, well, I agree, I don't think you should have surgery. Why don't you try chiropractic or acupuncture for pain management? First time I'd heard the word chiropractic. Literally, I don't remember ever thinking about it ever in my life before that. I looked at the two online and said, one guy cracks your back, one guy sticks needles in you. I'm gonna try the guy that cracks your back. Doctor said he thinks it would help, told me a guy to go see. I didn't go to that doctor because I was already living up in Greenville. That chiropractor was down in Charleston. So I started seeing somebody up here, and it took about 6 months, but after 3 years, 6 months seemed like nothing. I actually got out of bed, no pain in my legs for the first time. Pain wasn't gone, but no pain in my legs. And if you've been in pain, if you know what that feeling is, and having that life sucked out of you every day for the last 3 years, I was like, what the heck? And the doctor was honest and said, it's gonna take time. This is not just you've been injured for years, this is a process. And he goes, honestly, that injuries, that stress started long before you even got hurt. That straw that broke the camel's back, or my back in that case. I just continued. And then I said I wanted to get into healthcare, so I went back to school to get prereqs for med school. Still didn't ever ask how you became a chiropractor. And the day I took the MCAT, like I said, I took my MCAT. I had already finished all my prereqs. I was submitting my applications to med school. He said, hey, I think you'd be a great chiropractor. Have you ever thought about going to chiropractic school? And I'm like, wait, at this point, it had been about 2.5, 3 years of being under his care. You don't go to med school? Like, there's a separate school for chiropractic? And he's like, he goes, whatever you want to do, check it out. But he goes, I think you'd make a great chiropractor. So I was like, well, you know, if I don't get into med school this first round, maybe I'll check out chiropractic school. But something just in my mind was like, you need to check out chiropractic school. This helped you so much, just go check it out. Went and checked out Sherman College, and I had actually called 2 other colleges, Life University in Atlanta, Georgia, and then Palmer. Came up here because it was one of 18 right here in the Southeast, right in South Carolina, right up this road from the town I'm living in. So I was like, well, it's there, let's just go check it out. Went and did a tour, talked to a lot of doctors, went back home. You know, I actually didn't pull the trigger then. I actually was, one of the doctors I was shadowing at the time, who had been in practice for a long time, was still having on-call. And I was like, you still do on-call? And he's like, yeah, it's only 1 weekend a month, but I still got to do it. And I'm like, you've been in practice for well over 20 years. I think he was at 40-something years, 20 years at this one hospital. And I went home, told my wife, I was like, I don't want that lifestyle. I did it in the Marines. And then with State Department, 8 years of my life, I was pretty much gone. And I said, I'm going to chiropractic school. Called med schools, withdrew my applications, said, don't even worry about telling me what's up because I don't want to know the results. It'd be better not to. And I went into chiropractic school. So actually my wife and I met because I went back to Clemson, and being older now at this point, going back again, just going, you know, dating somebody that's younger just wasn't the right thing for me. So I checked out Match.com, met my wife on there, you know. Went out pretty much about a month after we met online. We were talking online and all of that. We met, and I mean, that's it. Like, that was, I knew she was the one. I think she knew I was the one, but we weren't ready to say it. So she was with me while I was going to Clemson. When I went back to Clemson, she wasn't with me the first time. And again, when I went back, it wasn't a traditional student role. I wasn't as involved with the student program at that point because it was more of just get done as fast as I can. You know, I actually asked her to marry me, and she said yes, obviously, or I wouldn't have this ring on my finger. And that's actually how I met you guys. And by you guys, I mean Upstate Warrior Solution. A buddy of mine, we had already started planning our wedding, and a buddy of mine was like, hey, Upstate Warrior Solution, have you heard of them? I'm like, no. I think you were relatively new at that point, maybe? They're doing this event to give a veteran a wedding. I checked it out. I was like, yeah, let's just see what happens. Joined up, and then you guys called. And we did an interview, and we ended up winning the wedding giveaway, which you guys had named Upstate, or Let Freedom Ring. And for those that haven't heard of that, Upstate Warrior Solution kind of got a lot of the community members that deal with weddings together to do pro bono work to give a wedding away that, if I remember correctly, was almost like $60,000 once it all added up. Way more than my wife and I would have ever have spent. Gave my wife the dream wedding that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And ever since then, I've been and learning more, and the opportunity I had with Upstate Warrior Solution at the time and learning about your mission, I actually fell in love with it, and we tried to support you as much as we can ever since. And then now that I have my own practice, Highlands Chiropractic, we've partnered with you guys, and we will do events that help try to raise money for Upstate Warrior Solution to give back, and then donate part of our visits to Upstate Warrior Solution as well. With 2020, those events haven't been happening, as everybody knows, so we're really looking forward to the community opening up and allowing us to start doing some of the fundraising for you guys. And I feel like that's why I continue to want to do a service type work where I was in service to others, because I did that in service to my country as a Marine. I did it when I supported the State Department in security operations in Iraq. And you know, I'm not saying anything bad about anybody here, but I just think most military members come out and they want to continue to serve. I see that, and I'm sure you guys do as well, but I do think that that's something that if you're joining the military, if you don't want to serve others, you're probably going to be awoken to that at some point. Most of us are coming out broken. And you can't do what you did for even 4 years and not be broken. You might want to think up here you're not, but it's very hard to get over certain things and accept the fact that you can no longer do things you used to do. Then being told you can't do it because even if you try, and I had that too, that you can't do it because of the injury, we won't take you. I think it's hard for veterans to hear that, because we were told we could do anything. That's part of our training to make us be able to go and fight in these wars. I think that's the hardest pill for any of us to swallow, at least for me. took a lot. I went to therapy myself. They said that was my problem. I think most guys just don't want to accept that it's okay to talk to somebody, and it was transitioning. That was the hardest part, and that's what we talked about at most of my therapy sessions. It helped me majorly. I did it with the VA, and I also did it privately. So, the VA is a great source. I really hope. I know some guys say bad things about it, and it has its flaws, but overall, talk to them if you're a veteran and you're having some issues, and you can't afford to do it privately. That's the one thing I would also tell somebody getting out. You're not alone. Other guys feel the same thing. You're going to think nobody feels it, but you do. There's going to be a lot of people along the way that are going to tell you can't do something. I heard it all the time, even from family members. If you got a dream, just go after it. And don't be afraid of a transition in that dream. You can't be so hard. I mean, why do we have primary route, secondary route, and a tertiary route? Something is going to derail your plan. I don't care if it's somebody shutting a door on you, not accepting it, you can no longer do it. Maybe you just realize it's not for you, but something's going to derail your initial plan, and that's okay. Don't be afraid to talk to other people about it. Other guys and gals are going through the same exact thing you are that are getting out. And trust me, the veteran world is pretty open to making connections and allowing you to help each other out and talk it through. Nobody owes us anything, in my opinion. There's a lot of groups that are giving us things, but it doesn't mean that, you didn't sign up and someone said we're going to take care of you the rest of your life. So I would just say, just know you're going to work hard. It's going to take hard work. Just like earning your Eagle Globe and Anchor if you're a Marine, earning your title if you were in the Army, the Air Force, the Navy. None of that was easy. Life's not going to be easy. Anybody tells you otherwise, they're just lying. That or someone's taking care of them, and I haven't figured that one out yet. And that would just be my thing, and just try to stay positive, man. Having lost buddies, I realized life is short. We're only on this planet for a short period of time. If you're not happy doing what you're doing, don't do it. I'm not saying give up, you got to be able to make a living, but you should do something that you enjoy. I've felt blessed so far that basically since high school, I don't feel like I've had a job. I joined the Marine Corps. If I just carry guns and blow stuff up for a living, man, that's not a job. State Department allowed me to that maybe felt a little bit more like work, but I got to do something I loved. I was providing security for the State Department employees to do their mission to set up stability in Iraq. And then, now I'm a chiropractor and I'm taking care of people every single day. And yeah, is it hard some days? Absolutely. But I get to see people have the same change in their life that was given to me. So I don't feel like it's a job. I get to sit there and I get to help people go from a bad state to a good state, get them out of pain. And I do my best to educate them on being proactive and that, hey, your health's on you. And I get to see that transition from thinking if it's not broke, don't fix it, to actually let's maintain a healthy lifestyle, a healthy body, and it will be a lot better off than not. So that's also one of the best parts of being a chiropractor is seeing the mindset, the changes of, just because I'm not in pain doesn't mean that I'm actually healthy. There could be a lot going on that you could prevent if you just make some habit changes in your life. So newly graduated chiropractor in 2019. It's a long road, but I got there. And I now have my own practice in the west end of Greenville. So downtown Greenville, over by the Drive Stadium. Most people know that. It's called Highlands Chiropractic. We're at 413 Bardry Street, Suite 6B. The approach at our office, like I said, is specific care to give each patient exactly what they need. There's no cookie cutter program at our office. It's exactly to get you better. We find the exact issues through our exams. We make sure that we provide the care that each individual needs, and then we not only align the spine and allow it to get strong and stable again, we also work with functional movement and soft tissue therapies in my office to kind of give you that overall balance. So not only are we trying to stabilize your spine, but we're trying to make you feel better overall and move better so you have less stress on that spine that can cause that pain and discomfort. Man, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I mean that, again, I'm not telling you it's ever going to be easy. Everybody has their own unique challenges and they can be overcome. One of the things like I said, I'll tell most people is just don't be afraid to ask for help. Upstate Warrior Solution. If you're a veteran, you're not talking with them and seeing what can be done, what can be had, even if you're not having an issue, Upstate Warrior Solution can either get you in touch with other people that you might impact their life, other ways of just bringing the community of veterans in the Upstate together that I have found super helpful and a great way to make connections that I don't think otherwise I would have. And maybe I would feel, like I said, between Upstate Warrior Solution, Student Veteran Association at Clemson University, it kept me tied into the military, so I didn't feel so lost and alone along the way. Yeah, I mean, just don't give up. You did it during your time in service. Just don't let that switch go off. Don't let that light, that flame go out.